We came back to the farm because it was being sold. That was the official reason. The truth was more complicated. None of us had stepped foot on that land in almost 20 years. Not after my father left. Not after my grandfather died. Not after the family stopped pretending everything was fine. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon. "We need to decide this weekend," my aunt said. "The buyer won't wait." Her voice was calm. Too calm. That's how I knew something else was coming. The farm sat just outside a small Midwestern town. Endless fields, cracked dirt roads, a white farmhouse that once held too many people and too many arguments. Growing up, I thought the place was unbreakable. It wasn't. My father hadn't spoken to his sister in years. He hadn't spoken about the farm at all. When I told him about the sale, he stared at the wall for a long moment. "I'm not going," he said. Then, after a pause, "But you should." That sentence carried more weight than he realized. We arrived Friday evening. The farmhouse looked smaller than I remembered. Paint peeling. Porch sagging. Windows clouded with dust and time. But it still smelled the same. Wood. Oil. Old coffee. Memory has a way of surviving decay. My aunt greeted us at the door. Tight smile. Quick hug. No eye contact. Behind her stood my uncle, arms crossed, and my cousin Mark, who hadn't lived here long enough to remember the fights. "Dinner's almost ready," my aunt said. No one mentioned my father. That night, we sat around the same wooden table where arguments once echoed. Plates passed. Small talk forced. Silence stretched. The house creaked as if it remembered everything. And then my aunt said it. "Before we sign anything tomorrow," she said, "there's something you should know about why your father left." Every fork stopped mid-air. The farm wasn't being sold just because of money. It was being sold because the truth was finally coming back with us. No one spoke for a moment after my aunt's words settled into the room. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, like it was trying to fill the space we'd left empty for years. My cousin Mark shifted in his chair. "I don't understand," he said. "I thought Dad left because he wanted something different." My aunt let out a slow breath. "That's what we told everyone," she said. "It was easier than the truth." She stood up and walked toward the window, looking out at the dark fields. "That night," she began, "your grandfather had already been sick for months. Not hospital sick. Tired sick. Angry sick. The kind that settles into a man who feels his life slipping away." She turned back to us. "Your father was 18. He had plans. College brochures hidden under his mattress. A bag packed." I felt my chest tighten. He'd never told me that. "They fought," my aunt continued. "About the farm. About money. About who was supposed to carry what forward. My uncle finally spoke. Your grandfather didn't want the farm sold. Ever. He said it was legacy. Identity. And your father didn't want to disappear into it, my aunt added. The argument started in the kitchen. That much, everyone agreed on. But what happened after depended on who you asked. Your grandfather said things he couldn't take back, my aunt said quietly. About disappointment. About failure. She paused. And your father said he was leaving. Not just the farm. The family. The word family hung heavy in the air. My aunt swallowed. That's when your grandfather collapsed. Silence slammed into the room. My uncle rubbed his hands together nervously. He survived, he said quickly. Barely. But after that, nothing was the same. My aunt nodded. Your father left before the ambulance arrived. That sentence landed harder than any accusation. He thought he'd killed him, she said. No one breathed. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't call. He didn't come back. She looked directly at me. And your grandfather never forgave himself for the things he said that night. I thought about my father. Quiet. Distant. Always avoiding anything tied to the past. Not angry. Ashamed. That's why the farm stayed frozen in time, my aunt said. No holidays. No laughter. No selling it. She looked down at the table. It became a monument to a night no one survived cleanly. Outside, the wind moved through the fields. The house groaned softly. Like it was remembering too. Sleep didn't come easily that night. The farmhouse settled around us, every creak sounding deliberate, like the walls were reminding us they'd heard everything before. I woke before dawn. The sky outside was pale, the fields still covered in a thin layer of mist. I followed the sound of movement to the kitchen, where my aunt sat alone at the table, a mug of coffee untouched in front of her. She didn't look surprised to see me. I figured someone would wake up early, she said. Her voice was tired. Not angry. Tired in the way people get after carrying something too long. She reached into the drawer beside her and pulled out a small cardboard box. It was worn, edges soft from being handled too often. I've kept this for years, she said. I told myself I'd give it to your father one day. She opened the box. Inside were envelopes. Dozens of them. All addressed to the same name. My father's. None of them opened. None of them sent. He wrote after he left, she said quietly. At first, every week. Then every month. Then once a year. She slid one envelope toward me. The handwriting was unmistakable. Careful. Controlled. Like someone afraid of saying too much. He never mailed them, my aunt continued. He told me he didn't deserve forgiveness. That if he reached out, it would only reopen wounds. I picked up one envelope. It was dated 2 years after the night he left. Another, 5 years later. Another, written just months before my grandfather died. He wanted to come back, she said. So many times. My chest tightened. Then why didn't he? I asked. My aunt's eyes filled. Because your grandfather never asked him to. She looked down at the box. And because I never told him how much your grandfather regretted that night. The truth settled heavily between us. Silence hadn't just kept people apart. It had rewritten their reasons. Later that morning, the family gathered again in the living room. My aunt placed the box on the coffee table. This is why the farm has to be sold now, she said. Because I'm done keeping things that don't belong to me. She looked at each of us. These letters deserve to be read. Or released. But not buried. Outside, the sun burned off the mist. The fields looked endless. Unforgiving. Honest. That afternoon, we decided something unexpected. We would call my father. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Now. No one volunteered to make the call. The phone sat in the center of the coffee table like it carried weight. Finally, my aunt picked it up. She didn't ask permission. She just dialed. The line rang longer than expected. Once. Twice. 3 times. I wondered if he'd changed his number. If this moment had waited too long. Then. Hello. The voice was older. Slower. But unmistakably my father's. My aunt swallowed. It's me, she said. I don't know if you want to hear from me, but... There was a pause. Then a breath. I always wanted to hear from you, he said quietly. No one spoke. We stood frozen, listening to a conversation that had been delayed by years. I should have called sooner, my aunt said. I should have come back, he replied. 2 truths. Both late. Neither useless. She told him about the letters. About the box. About the farm. Silence stretched again, but this time it wasn't empty. You kept them? He asked. Yes. Another pause. I wrote them so I wouldn't forget how much I missed you all, he said. Not because I thought I'd be forgiven. My mother covered her mouth. Tears slipped down her face without sound. Then my aunt said the thing that changed everything. Dad asked about you, she said. Near the end. He asked why you never came. The line crackled. He asked. Yes, she replied. And he was sorry. He just didn't know how to say it first. A sound came through the phone that none of us expected. A quiet, broken laugh. I waited years for that, my father said. Years. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't defend himself. He asked one question. Can I come back? The room held its breath. My aunt didn't answer right away. She looked at us. At my mother. At me. At the house. Yes, she said finally. If you want to. Another pause. Then. I'll be there tomorrow, my father said. After the call ended, no one moved. The air felt different. Not lighter, but real. Outside, the sun dipped low over the fields. For the first time since arriving, the farmhouse didn't feel like a place waiting to be sold. It felt like a place holding space. That night, no one slept much. Because tomorrow wasn't about the past. It was about who would walk through the door. The next morning arrived too quietly. No one mentioned the call. No one said his name. We moved through the house like guests in our own memories. Coffee brewed but went untouched. Breakfast sat cooling on the counter. Every sound outside made us pause. A truck passing. Wind through the trees. Gravel shifting under tires that weren't his. He was supposed to arrive before noon. By 10, my mother had changed her sweater twice. By 11, my aunt had stopped pretending to clean. At 11:47, a car turned into the driveway. No one breathed. It wasn't the car I remembered. Smaller. Older. Paint dulled by years of sun. It rolled to a stop near the barn. The engine cut. The door opened. He stepped out slowly. Thinner than I remembered. Hair more gray than brown. Posture careful, like someone who had learned not to take space for granted. He stood there for a moment, just looking at the house. As if it might disappear. My mother was the first to move. She didn't run. She walked. Each step deliberate. He saw her and froze. For a second, they looked like strangers. Then he smiled. Not wide. Not confident. Hopeful. I didn't know if you'd be here, he said. I didn't know if you'd come, she replied. They stood an arm's length apart. Too close to ignore. Too far to touch. I'm sorry, he said. No excuses. No explanations. Just the words. My mother nodded once. I know, she said. That was all. The rest of us gathered behind her. My aunt crossed her arms, then uncrossed them. I'm glad you came, she said, surprising herself. He met her eyes. So am I. Inside, the house felt smaller with him in it. Or maybe fuller. He sat at the kitchen table like he used to. Same chair. Different man. Lunch was quiet. But not awkward. The kind of quiet that comes from people paying attention. He asked about our lives. Listened. Really listened. When my mother laughed a small, surprised sound he noticed. After lunch, he asked to see the field. We walked together toward the back of the property. The grass was tall. The fence half broken. I meant to come back, he said suddenly. Every year. Why didn't you? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Because shame is heavy, he said. And it gets heavier the longer you carry it. At the edge of the field, he stopped. This is where your grandfather taught me to fix the tractor, he said. I broke it twice. My aunt smiled despite herself. He yelled like the world was ending. He always did, my father said. They laughed. Together. That evening, we sat on the porch as the sun dropped low. No speeches. No resolutions. Just presence. Before bed, my mother said something I hadn't expected. Stay, she said. At least tonight. He looked at her like she'd given him something fragile. I'd like that, he replied. The guest room light stayed on late. Not because of unpacking. But because sometimes, returning takes time. The house didn't sleep that night. Floorboards creaked. A door opened, then closed. Water ran softly in the bathroom down the hall. Some reunions don't bring rest. They bring memories. I woke early and found my father already in the kitchen. He was standing by the window, hands wrapped around a mug that had long gone cold. Couldn't sleep? I asked. He smiled faintly. I've had 10 years of sleep, he said. This is the part I missed. We sat in silence for a while. Then he spoke again. There's something I didn't tell you yesterday. I waited. I didn't leave because I wanted to, he said. I left because I thought I was protecting you. Later that morning, my mother asked everyone to sit in the living room. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled. We've circled this long enough, she said. It's time to say the things we avoided. No one argued. She turned to my father. You didn't just leave, she said. You disappeared. He nodded. I know. Why? My aunt asked. Why all of us? He took a breath. Because I failed, he said. And I thought if you saw me fail, you'd lose whatever respect you had left. He told us about the business. How he trusted the wrong partner. How debt piled up quietly. How he took a loan against the land without telling anyone. My mother's face went still. The land, she whispered. I was going to fix it, he said quickly. Sell the equipment, recover the loss. But then your father found out. The room tightened. He gave me one chance, my father continued. Fix it or walk away. And you walked, my aunt said. He swallowed. I ran. My mother stood. You let us believe you chose another life, she said. You let us believe we weren't enough. I thought it would hurt less, he said. It didn't, she replied. The silence that followed was heavy. Then my grandmother spoke from her chair by the window. We all made choices, she said softly. And we all paid for them. Everyone turned. She hadn't said much in years. You protected your pride, she continued, looking at my father. And we protected our anger. She paused. Both of those cost us time. That afternoon, the truth settled differently. Not like a wound reopening. Like a knot loosening. My father apologized again. This time, no one stopped him. My mother didn't forgive him. Not yet. But she listened. Before dinner, my aunt pulled me aside. I spent years hating him, she said. Turns out, I was also scared he'd come back and prove I'd been wrong. That night, my father sat alone on the porch. I joined him. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. I just wanted to be seen. You are, I replied. Inside, my mother watched from the doorway. She didn't join us. But she didn't turn away either. Some truths don't fix the past. They just make the future possible. The storm came in just after sunset. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady rain tapping against the windows, like it was trying to get our attention. We gathered in the living room again, drawn together by habit more than intention. The fire was lit. The lights were low. And for the first time since the reunion began, no one was pretending to be fine. Emily stood near the fireplace, twisting the ring on her finger. I need to say something, she said. Everyone turned. This time, no one interrupted. I didn't plan this weekend to fix our family, she said. I planned it to start my marriage without carrying this silence into it. She looked at each of us. I don't want my future children inheriting what we avoided. The room held its breath. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folded document. I went to see Grandpa before he passed, she said quietly. He asked me to promise something. My grandmother closed her eyes. He asked me to bring everyone together, Emily continued. And if the truth finally came out. She unfolded the paper. To give this to you. My mother stood up slowly. What is it? She asked. Emily handed her the document. The title was clear. Property Transfer Agreement. My mother's hands shook as she read. Then she looked up, stunned. He left the land to all of us, she whispered. Not one person. All of us. My father's breath caught. He knew about the loan, Emily said. He knew about the debt. He forgave it because he never wanted the land to be the reason we lost each other. Tears filled my aunt's eyes. I thought he blamed us, she said. He didn't, Emily replied. He blamed the silence. The rain grew heavier outside. Inside, something shifted. Not relief. Release. My mother walked over to my father. Everyone froze. She didn't hug him. She didn't shout. She placed the document in his hands. "You don't get to disappear again," she said. "If we do this, we do it together." His voice broke. "I'll stay." My grandmother stood with effort. "I don't have many years left," she said. "I'd like to spend them knowing my family isn't afraid of the truth." No one argued. Later that night, we shared dinner again. Not polite. Not careful. Real. Stories were told. Arguments happened. Laughter slipped in when no one expected it. I stepped outside onto the porch. The rain had slowed. The lake reflected the house lights like scattered stars. My mother joined me. "I'm not ready to forgive him," she said. "I know," I replied. "But," she continued, "I'm ready to stop running." Behind us, voices filled the house. Not loud. Alive. Some families reunite through celebration. Others through confrontation. Ours reunited through a choice. To stay. Morning arrived quietly. No announcements. No confrontations. Just the sound of birds over the lake and the smell of coffee drifting through the lodge. I woke earlier than usual and stepped outside. Mist hovered over the water, soft and forgiving like the night had washed something away. Inside, people moved slowly. No one rushed. No one avoided eye contact. It felt unfamiliar. It felt earned. Breakfast was simple. Toast. Eggs. Leftover pastries from the wedding. But the table felt fuller than it had the night before. My aunt poured coffee for my mother without being asked. My father stayed seated. That alone meant everything. Emily joined us last. She looked exhausted and lighter. "Thank you," she said. "All of you. For staying." No one corrected her. Because staying was the hardest part. By late morning, cars were packed. Goodbyes were awkward. Some hugs were hesitant. Some promises were carefully worded. No one said we're healed. Because we weren't. My grandmother pulled me aside before I left. "Families don't need perfect endings," she said. "They need honest ones." I held on to that. The drive home was quieter than the drive there. But it wasn't empty. My mother looked out the window again, not bracing this time. Reflecting. "Do you think we'll really change?" I asked. She paused. "I think we already did," she said. "We stopped pretending nothing happened." Weeks passed. Then months. We didn't suddenly become close. But birthdays were acknowledged. Messages were returned. Holidays were discussed, not avoided. The lake was sold later that year. Not out of anger. Out of agreement. Each family used their share differently. Some paid debts. Some saved. Some let go. Emily and her husband named their daughter after my grandmother. When we gathered again smaller, quieter, it didn't feel like a test. It felt like choice. I still think about that weekend. About how silence can feel safer than truth. Until it isn't. Until the cost becomes too high. Some families break in loud ways. Ours drifted. And then, one summer, someone finally decided to swim back.